Hello, YouTubers. This is the fifth week where we continue to develop OtripleS, an open source schooling system for every financially disadvantaged child around the world. We think our world deserves a better schooling system, and we are going to build an open source project just for that purpose. In the last week, we developed the courses entity. There has been a lot of great efforts in developing the courses entity. Let's take a quick look here at the contributions that people have made. I've noticed a lot of hard work that was put into the courses entity. Obviously, just like any other entity, we, distributed the work amongst us. We started working on, the required methods, required services, and all that kind of stuff. And for the most part, unlike, when we first started, we had a lot of overdues, but I can see right now that the overdues are getting lesser and lesser as people are starting to, get more acclimated to the progress. And you will also notice that I'm starting to assign bigger portions of things to people, and people are actually starting to take control over, particular portions. Like someone is going to do all the endpoints, and someone else is going to do all the brokers. But I'll continue, like I said in the last video, that I will continue to keep the services implementations for one engineer at a time, because services is the beefy section of any software. It's where all the work actually goes. Everything else is just catering to that. Um, I've noticed a lot of people are having a little bit of issues with GitHub. I just wanted to go a little bit quickly over. I'm just gonna show you a little bit of diagram so people just understand, what we're doing in here with GitHub for people who are trying to pull code. So just for you to understand, if this is OtripleS master branch, which is, the branch where all the actual work is going, and you are basically taking a let's say a section out of that, right? So let's say you're going in here and you're saying I want, so this is becoming your copy. So you slash OtripleS, that's going to be your master, right? If you branch out of that, let's say you're branching out of that, so you branch out of that, you want to make sure that your master branch is synced with this master branch. If this guy is out of sync and you're trying to pull out of that as a master, and then you try to go again and push in here, everything will just be messed up. Everything will be out of sync. The reason for that is that, you're pulling your code in, but you're pulling in from an outdated source, right? And you have to be careful with that because, I'm very grateful for all the contributions that people are doing, but, you have to understand that OtripleS is a very, very active branch, right? Literally on daily basis, it's receiving contributions, right? Whether it's from me, for the people that are working on it, on daily basis, it's really ongoing, right? So you want to make sure that your branch, your master branch, before you do any feature development, you want to make sure that your branch is up to date. And you want to make sure that your branch, if you're pulling from master, you want to make your branches up to date. You can also always pull straight from here. Like you could take out this guy completely and you could just literally pull out from the master, remote master branch, right? You can pull straight from remote master branch, just do your changes and push it back in, right? That's one way to do it. It shouldn't be a big problem. A lot of people have also talked to me about, being frustrated that they have to, resolve conflicts and whatnot. Just let me explain to you how things work. The priority comes to people who have pushed PRs earlier. So let's say there is, X, there's John, and there is Ahmed, and then there's, Vishwa, for instance. And Vishwa is going to have, if I merge the code for John and Ahmed, that means Vishwa is going to have to resolve the conflicts for both of these people, right? I want you to understand that because a lot of people said, oh, I had to merge twice and I did this and that. You have to understand that there is an order and a priority for the code that is being pushed, right? I will not merge code for someone that pushed their code a little bit earlier than, sorry, later than someone else. That'll never going to happen. I can promise you that. But the one thing that I want you to understand is that you get into conflicts either because there was earlier PRs that are ready that got merged, or the fact that, probably your PR was left behind because, you still had review comments that had to be addressed, right? So if someone pushed code right behind you, right after you, right? And your PR still have some work that needs to be done. I've seen a lot of people just leave empty spaces or forget the copyright notice and all that kind of stuff. If you're doing that, your PR will be delayed until you address these issues. And any PRs that come after that, if they don't have these issues, you have to understand these PRs will immediately get merged. And now you have to deal with that code conflict. Luckily, because our code base is very clean, the code conflicts is not as terrible as they sound. Like I've seen code conflicts where people have to actually think through what's happening, but because we're very standardized, the code base is very clean and all that kind of stuff, it's not really that hard, to look at the code base and know, what's missing and what's not. Um, there's one more thing that's really important that I wanted to point out. Haral already pointed out that, some of these we need a pipeline. We want to make sure our pipeline, actually is running the test and all that. And I really appreciate him pointing out that stuff because right now we actually are running our unit test. Here's all acceptance test our um, and our unit tests. So this is addressed, and also it's gated in the PRs, and this is something I've been trying to find time to work on. Luckily, I finally finalized that. Like for instance, this PR in here, if I look into the details, you can see in here that this is the gated run for this particular PR. So there's the code inspector and there's Azure pipelines, and you can see here all the tests are passing and all the processes that get kicked off immediately as you open a PR. So both of these are in place. We should be good to go. Now, there has been two open PRs that, are not just beyond their deadlines, but, they're actually beyond the entire period of the week. So we try to develop one feature a week, and these two PRs were beyond that. I had to shut these down and just go, implement the missing acceptance test. I haven't seen much value into writing these acceptance tests because simply it's not it's something that I've done before, and the code examples are there, so there's no really use of keeping you looking at, me doing acceptance test over again while there are other videos that I've where I have addressed, that activity. One more thing in the so if your PR is beyond its deadline, it's very likely that someone is going to just go and write it, or I'm going to have to go and shut it down and just push the code just to keep the wagon going, right? Because we have around 20, maybe 30 entities that need to be developed, and we're starting to link these entities, as you will see in the upcoming issue. These entities, we're going to start linking them together, and if we are behind, we will never going to get anything delivered. So we're not really running against a vigorous deadline, but that doesn't mean that we should just, take more than 1 week to develop some CRUD operations for one entity. In fact, some of the people that, are on this project, if they were given the opportunity, they could get the entire CRUD operations in like a couple of days, but that's not the point of this project. The point is that for you to actually, the people who are not familiar with the standard, the people who are not familiar with the technology, the point is to give them the chance, to learn about these new technologies and learn about, how to become a part. Like a lot of people have reached out to me and they said, I have never been a part of an open source community before. I have never been a part of a project like this. I really, I'm enjoying this experience. This is the purpose of this project, to create something for financially disadvantaged students, to give the world a proper industrial schooling system software, which I strongly believe that, the world is in dire need of something better, to organize our children's future. The third thing is for me to actually give people who I don't have the opportunity to work with on daily basis the ability to learn our standard and learn our guidelines and be a part of something bigger, and at the same time learn about technologies. Like this project is going to touch on Blazor applications, Xamarin. You're going to be playing with Azure queues, scheduled queues, OData. There's a ton of technologies and a ton of patterns and architectures, mechanisms that we're going to be working with. Additionally, there's also the entire culture around the code that we're building, right? Like we write a failing test, and then we write a passing test, and then we commit that test, and we make sure that things are in good shape. This is an entire culture around that code that you have to adapt to in order for you to understand how to properly build industrial software. You know, there is so let's just jump into the next issue, that we want to talk about. And in this next issue, there you will actually start seeing these entities that we've been building in the last month starting to connect to each other. So if you go into, we're going to talk about assignment model. So we did the course. Now we're building an assignment. Now you have to understand a couple of things. This is not a student assignment. This is the assignment as an entity, but there will be an assignment submission, which is linking an assignment to a student, right? That's the next step, right? There is an assignment and there's an assignment submission. I put in here a very, very fast draft of what I think an assignment should look like, but I'm pretty sure, with the contributions and the brain power, the hive brain power of the engineers involved in this development, I am very sure that they're gonna come up with even more amazing things. Like I can think off the bat right now, there is the ID label content, right? But that's just the raw content or description. Maybe we should call it description. But then someone might come and say, maybe the assignment has files attached to it. That would be another entity called an assignment file. An assignment file is another entity, maybe binary, however you want to store that. It will reference the assignment ID. I've noticed this a lot in our discussions. Like people will come and talk about external entity, you know, before they actually talk about the original entity, right? And I understand we're not supposed to over normalize or do an early normalization, but then some things are basically handing themselves out. Like when we talked about a student and a teacher, right? We could have said student that has a teacher, but the student has many teachers and the teachers have many students. It's a many to many relationship. It's literally begging for, a normalization to happen from an entity standpoint. All right, so this is that. Please go in there and start, contributing. I really appreciate the engagement of people and their ability. And it's very, very important when you're discussing the model. It's really super important that you come up with your own version of it. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to talk about this one particular property, but what does that look like?" Right? This is all talk, and talk is cheap. Show me your code, right? Go and do a snippet like this, and start putting in what your code is supposed to look like and show the world what your contribution look like. Um, you will notice that in the classroom model, which is what we're going to be working on this sprint, the assignments are already out. Like I said, if your name is not there, it's going to be next sprint. If you haven't contributed in the last um, two periods, it's very likely that I'm not going to assign anything to you until you just reach out and you say, hey, I had this problem and I wanted to deal with, because I want to make sure also the entities and the development is keeping going. And if you're going through any issues or you need just time for yourself, just let me know. Or you don't have to let me know. I'll just wait for a couple of periods and then I will say, okay, this particular individual doesn't really have the time at the moment to participate in this project, and that's totally okay. These are the assignments. We have all the people that are assigned to these. You will notice that I'm moving people around a little bit around the areas that they're not comfortable with, right? Like if you have done something like an acceptance test or a controller, it's very, very likely that I'm going to move you into a place that you have not worked on before, so I can expand your horizon and strengthen your skill set so you are able to build things end to end. There will be a point of time when my assignments are going to be really horizontal, meaning that one individual will be building the broker, the method, the controller, and the acceptance test all by themselves. So one big slice, all assigned to one engineer. And then the week after that, the point here is that we want to scale, right? So eventually, like so far, we've been working on one entity at a time, right? But as soon as people start picking up speed and feel more comfortable with the code, we're going to be running two entities development at a time and maybe three entities development at a time. This is the uber engineering process of not just engineering code or a project. We're actually engineering the very process that makes that code, right? And we're scaling out. But because people are still very new, I still see people leaving, weird things here and there. It's still not there yet. But I think the team should be there probably within a couple of weeks or so when we start actually scaling, fanning out, and start trying to develop two entities at the same time, and hope for people that they would understand that the way how we build our software is actually making sure that we don't conflict with each other in any way, shape, or form. We have a lot of contributions. We have reached 400 different contributions, and I really appreciate the work that people are doing in here. I can see people already are super eager. Like last sprint, I've seen people literally, asking me, "Hey, where's my assignment? I want to get an assignment," and I really appreciate the stuff that people are doing to become a part of this project. This is really great. And your opinions, your thoughts, your feedbacks are really, really appreciated. All right, so this is all of that. I really highly recommend looking at an article that I'm going to put in this video. It's called Pure Coding. It's about, how the process of writing your code has to be just as pretty as the code itself and as pretty as the product that you're building. I need you to go through that and understand why we're doing what we're doing, because there will be a point of time where we start pairing people together. So instead of just one engineer running with one feature, I'm going to have two engineers pairing together, right? And I'm going to need both of these two engineers pairing together, working, doing that ping pong. Like one engineer will write a failing test, and then the other engineer will make it pass, and then they will write a failing test and make the first engineer make it pass. All right, so that's pretty much it. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. We will be working on the classroom. We're going to be working on the classroom feature. Meanwhile, we will be discussing the assignment model. The assignment model is very, very rough draft. Go in there and tell me what you got. The last thing I wanted to ask people to do, if you learn something in this project, any technology that you learn in here, any skill set, any pattern, do not use that to be arrogant on other people. Do not use that to make someone feel bad. If you do that, then I will not work with you. I will not communicate with you. I don't understand you, and I don't want to understand you if you're using the knowledge that you're getting out of this project and the expertise and experience that you're getting out of this project to act arrogant on other people. That's not acceptable. This is not related to any particular incident. It's not related to any particular person. It's something in general that I want people to understand when they are learning, about these technologies. Sometimes we get too full of ourselves and we think that we're better than everyone else. Remember where you were and try to help people to get where you were so you can grow as well. And I can guarantee you, like every time you try to teach someone something with humbleness, with happiness and love and kindness in your heart, and hope for them to actually be better, I can guarantee you 100% it has an amazing feedback and a return of investment, not physical return of investment necessarily, but intellectual and spiritual return of investment when you invest your time into helping someone that may or may not be able to help you ever, instead of being arrogant and trying to make people feel bad that you know something and they don't. Um, Other than that, I am very grateful for the work that people are doing and the enthusiasm that people are doing. I know it's very easy to get caught into our daily lives, and it's very, very hard to find the time to do something like that. And every time someone puts as little as a comment, or push a commit, this is really, really great work that we're doing here, and I hope we continue to do that, and I hope we continue to scale and continue to tackle even more entities as we go, as people become more and more comfortable with the work that they do. So that's pretty much it. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I think I am almost on all popular social media channels, and you can also feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. And I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for watching.